pay you at all. Hey, welcome into the show. It's Bollox time. It is time for Bollox Talks and Tangents. I got a producer who's just basically lost some money. Did you hear him?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like he's working with the union over there.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with that.
That's not
all right.
good.
Well, we're talking about we're talking about third-party politics as far as the presidential races go, and significant ones throughout history. And we got some pretty significant ones and some good stories and how they came to be. And some ones hopefully you haven't heard before. We got some word origins. So should be a fun show. We have a really good. Oh, you know what I want you to do? The whiskey of the week. I want you to read the back of that. Here, tap it before you do that. There's lots of instructions going on here.
Okay.
All right. But I want you to read the back of that out loud to our audience. It is called Bell Mead Reserve. All right. So this is one of the more eloquently written bourbon bottles.
Bell Mead Reserve is the premium expression of our multi-award-winning Bell Mead bourbon. We identify certain superior barrels from the Bell Mead inventory and combine them to yield a richer, more robust bourbon that compounds and enhances the character, flavor, and the feel of its source. This painstaking process ensures that every small batch of reserve will be utterly singular and that every sip will be pleasure itself.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be really hot, but it's very smooth.
And it's Tennessee sipping whiskey because it's from Nashville.
Yeah.
Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery in Nashville, Tennessee.
But it's still called a bourbon.
It's distilled in Lawrenceburg, Indiana for Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. There's a lot of crossover, a lot of state lines going on there.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's still called, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to share a show. All right.
No problem. It's a mere 108.3% proof. Or it's 54.15 alcohol by volume and 108.3 proof.
Yeah.
Proof can go up to 200.
Yeah. So, but no, it's pleasantly surprising.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
tasty.
a good bourbon. All right, but we're talking a little politics.
Caramel.
We got a little bit of caramel in there, a little vanilla. We're talking politics a little bit tonight. We're talking third-party candidates.
Yep.
Some significant ones out there. But first thing I got to do, I got to run through our amazing sponsors. St. Augustine Distillery and Citygate Spirits. These guys, they know their booze. And if you want to find out anything about it, they'll give you the whole history. They'll give you a tour. You can do tasting tours. Just wonderful staff over there. Everybody over there is super knowledgeable about what they're displaying and what they're talking about. But Citygate Spirits is right there across from the fort. And St. Augustine Distillery you can find in the same building as the ice plant on Riberia.
Yep.
So, Me Hands.
Whoa.
Yes, Me Hands. I can tell you this.
Love me hands.
I've kind of got into a little bit of a chicken curry rut.
Yeah, you've been doing that for way too long, man. You got to branch out.
I need to roll over into something different. Blake got some. He did the tenders hack.
Yeah.
How are the tenders?
The tenders were really good.
The mac and cheese was so good the other night. It was probably one of their best batches.
You can always
ever.
go fish and chips.
Yeah. So I can do fish and chips. Mm-hmm. So, but everything on their menu is so good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you get locked into a menu like Blake does at Kaiser's. He's a White Street guy. I'm a Bollox guy. Once I find something good, it's kind of hard to leave it because if you don't like it as much, then you're like, oh, man, I just cheated myself.
Well, we go into Me Hands and we sit down and Caleb will put our order in without even asking us, and it's the same thing. It's drunken clams, side Caesar salad, mac and cheese, and I'll vacillate between the Reuben or the chicken tenders. Occasionally seldom a burger, but the French dip I can't do because I have to be loyal to Kaiser's French dip. Mm-hmm. So, and
I can tell you this: when I go into a new place, French dip is one of my measuring sticks because you can, if you have a good French dip, that usually means most of your sandwiches are super solid.
Right.
So, and if you have a bad one, that means most of your sandwiches, not so much.
Right.
But Kaiser's, speaking of Kaiser's. Oof. Amazing French dip over there. Amazing French dip at Me Hands. I'll talk about Kaiser's a little bit.
Well, when we're talking about the French dip there, Kurt makes the au jus in-house, and it's the trim from, all the cold cuts, all the roast beefs, the pastrami's.
Get your cold cuts.
There you go. And it all goes into the pot with the vegetables, and he cooks it down, cools it, strains it, strains it again, brings it up to a boil, and it is just outstanding. So you're dipping your beef in that, and you just can't go wrong. But the best pastrami in St. Augustine by far. It's the navel pastrami. It's not a brisket; it's navel, so it's a little fattier, but it is just where you want that deliciousness. And everything's great. Plus, they just made a new batch of some of their dips. I think Julia whipped up a nice batch of the onion dip. So if you're having a party or if you're just looking for snacking, man, that's great. Spread that on a burger or dip your potato chips in it. You're not going to go wrong with anything there. Plus, lovely people. Julia's delicious and delightful. She'll make a fabulous charcuterie board for you.
Oh, I have not tried that.
Julia makes some of the most beautiful charcuterie boards you've ever seen. Oh, the woman's a talent. She really is. And Kurt, you're not going to get better.
Yeah. Good people. Good people. All right. Also, good people over at Abear Kresge and Associates. These guys have kept me out of trouble. They are my CPAs and have been my accountants for over a decade. And I'm not an easy guy to be the accountant for. And let me tell you, they do audits. They do anything you want to do. They'll set up your LLC. They'll give you advice on how to work through that and where you want to be and how you want to set up your accounting. Just brilliant people over there and kind people, which is what you want in a CPA firm. And
they didn't show up at trivia last night, so we took their sixth place position and
you were
did
solid in sixth place. They said they will be back next week.
Good. Then we can go back to first. Thank you.
Oof. So, Blake, did you write them down? You were doing the list.
Write them down.
For you to write them down at the very top. Now I'm concerned. I didn't look at the list, and that silence is deafening. Did you hear it? All right, so we got to make sure we take care of that. Yeah. All right.
You told me to make a list.
You walked around with the reservation forms.
Oh yes, I did.
Did you write down unicorn slayers for 4?
Yes, I did.
Okay, all right. That was the question. Oh, you weren't paying attention. That's what it was.
Twice.
All right.
Yes.
Producer. He asked for a raise right before. Did you hear that?
Oh, man.
He asked for a raise and then he does that.
Timing is everything, Blake. Sorry,
Bubba. You got to follow up with that. All right, St. Augustine Pirate Museum. These guys do need a raise because they do an amazing job. Yeah. They do the Colonial Quarter. They do the Taberna Bar. They do Bull and Crown. Just wonderful people. But the Pirate Museum has over 800 artifacts in it. You cannot get bored if you go to the Pirate Museum. So if you have friends coming into town,
always
get them over there to it.
Oh, we do. Coming soon, too. Great.
Coquina Coast Realty. All right, I usually don't talk a whole lot about Coquina Coast Realty, but today I have commercial space open. I have office space open in the Treasury and in the Cigar Building, and I have an apartment downtown, very affordable and walkable to everything in town. So give me a call at 904-669-7901. Any of your real estate needs, whether it be commercial or residential, give me a call. All right, Cheshire Custom and Collisions. These guys are all about community. They have a wonderful paint shop over there. You got any dings or anything on your vehicle you need to take care of, give Chris Cheshire a call. And they also have Cheshire Towing. Mm-hmm. So give them a call and they'll help you out. All right, word origins.
Sure, you go first.
All right, I'm going to go first because I'm armed to the teeth with information over here.
Okay.
All right. The term armed to the teeth, and you already know what this means. Blake,
I do.
Do you have any idea if you're conscious?
I kind of do, but not really. Can you please explain it further?
Just another connection to the Pirate Museum, too, as a matter of fact.
It is a connection to the Pirate Museum. Yep. I probably should have ended on that one and led right into this. From the 17th century, pirates would arm themselves because usually most guns or pistols were single shots.
Right.
All right. So they would quickly go through, and they'd have wherever they could stick a gun, they had a gun there, so they were ready to go in this fight. And a lot of times, they'd either hold a gun in their mouth or they would hold a knife in their mouth, and that meant they were armed to the teeth when they boarded another vessel.
Yep.
So that's where we got the term armed to the teeth. That means you're overly prepared for any situation, like you always are. Every Bollox, you come in armed to the teeth.
Oh, baby.
Even though neither one of us won in the Mike Lewis show.
Oh, I wasn't even close.
Yeah, you kind of gave away your title.
Yeah, well, I was dominant for a couple of weeks, but, they weren't the questions that I had forecasted. I could tell you.
I lost it on Outback Outback Crab Shack.
Yeah, which I had no frame of reference for, so I wasn't getting that
I lost
one right.
it. It's one of my favorite restaurants.
Right.
It's reopened.
Where is it?
It's on the river on 6 Mile Marina. So it's where 6 Mile is. Out off if you go by car, it's on State Road 13.
Okay.
They have the best low country boil in the history of low country boils, unless I made it myself.
All right.
So
it's a good thing.
Yep. All right. What's your word origin?
Well, we're talking about third-party candidates. So my word origin today is spoiler and or spoiler alerts, because they're two completely different things.
Okay.
You know, in politics, you got a lot of these third-party candidates, and in this election, they very well may be playing spoiler. Mm-hmm. It happened in 2000. People think it was just the hanging Chad, but no, it was the hanging Chad and Pat Buchanan, and that cost Al Gore the election, and it was mathematically explained.
Yeah, I'm still bitter about that one.
Yeah, and rightly so.
'Cause I'm pretty sure the Jewish people that somehow all accidentally voted for Bush meant to vote for Bush in South Florida.
Yeah.
When there was
instead of Joe Lieberman?
First time there was ever a Jewish man on the ticket, and they didn't vote for it.
Well, I can't speak to that ballot because it was different than the one in Palm Beach County, which was the butterfly ballot.
Yeah.
And the dots or the punch was offline for the candidate that you'd be betting for.
And that's where Palm Beach County is a heavy Jewish population.
And in Palm Beach County, Pat Buchanan got more votes than he had any right to because of the way the dots lined up on that thing. So he ended up getting, in Palm Beach County, he got too many votes. And that skewed the election. And the fact that skewed it in Palm Beach County skewed it for Florida. And the 600 votes that the Supreme Court said, no, we'll stop counting now. Because everybody believes that if they kept counting, it would have swung.
And I'll tell you this. I think the ballot was terrible. And I think the people that did the verifications of the ballot, I think they did what they were supposed to do with the information they had. But, come on. How does Lieberman not win Palm Beach County in that time frame? I mean, Lieberman was the vice president, and I know people are like, "Oh, that's not really important." It is. Well, it is in that case because I can tell you, I think Joe Lieberman is one of our, within my lifetime, one of our most honest politicians.
Correct.
That I've ever
absolutely
encountered.
Yep.
There's a lot of them.
He's a real mensch.
Yeah, he is a mensch, and I don't know what that means, but I know it means he's a good dude.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, in my lifetime, and you and I are on the second half of our lifetime. I can't think of anyone else that I can go, okay, I think he's a real honest guy.
Yeah. And the thing with that ballot in particular was the fact that they may have counted them properly, but the people didn't think they were voting for. They weren't voting for Pat Buchanan. They thought they were voting for Joe Lieberman.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with the Jewish population that's there versus Pat Buchanan and Gore Lieberman.
Right.
The numbers just didn't.
Well, they just didn't line up with the way the candidates' names were.
It didn't make sense, and it was terrible.
It was a poorly produced ballot. So now spoiler. As far as that context comes in, somewhere between 1795 and 1820, and it was sort of a shortening or an appreciation of the spoil sport.
Okay.
Somebody who says, "Oh, you're having a good time. I'm going to rain on your frickin' parade." So a spoil sport would be trying to ruin something for other people that were having a good time.
Yeah.
And that evolved into spoilers, who are and in this election in particular. Like I said, we're going to talk about Robert Kennedy, who people consider a spoiler, though he's not tracking that much. But I just think the man is disingenuous. The man has lost any potential integrity if it's accurate that he's selling himself to the highest bidder. He went to Trump and said, "You know what? I'll endorse you if you give me a place in your administration." And now news came out today that and I don't think they took him up on it or had a conversation, but he was shopping himself to the Harris campaign, saying, "Look, I'll endorse you if you give me a place in your administration." So the guy just wants to be as somebody. Yeah. He just can't take being married to Cheryl Hines. And he doesn't even live where, he's off the ballot in New York. They're going to fight it. But, he rented a room that he's never stayed in, and the judge said, "Bullshit. You don't live in New York. You can't be on the ballot in New York. Go away."
Why are you hating the Kennedys?
I'm just hating the dumb one.
Wait, why are you hating
I ain't got
Kennedys?
no problem with the
Wait,
Kennedys.
I feel
I
like
just,
you're hating the Kennedys.
no, I just,
That's
look, you know what?
That's the dumb politician you're picking on?
Well,
That's the one you're going to go after, the one that has no chance of winning?
Well, and
Come on, we don't have-
you just narrowed me down to the Kennedys. Look, you know what? The man was a great river keeper. We have the river keepers. We have the river keepers for St. John's down here.
Saying River and Kennedy in the same sentence.
Different Kennedy.
No.
Different Kennedy.
No, same family.
Different bridge.
It's an uncle.
We'll cross that bridge later.
Oh,
okay.
Well, evidently they didn't cross it.
Actually, I was up there and I saw that thing.
They missed the bridge.
You know what it was? It really was. It was like you play golf, right? Mm-hmm. You're driving a golf cart. You go across a water hazard, and it's a bunch of planks. That was basically the bridge he drove off.
Yeah, and Davey, he didn't kill the bear. The bear was already dead.
Right.
Yeah, he just picked up the bear, which is legal to do.
And he tried to make it look like it was hit by a bicycle in Central Park.
Yeah.
Because what bicycle in Central Park is going to kill a bear or a bear cub by running into it in Central Park on a bicycle? This was not thought out in any way, shape, or form.
This is why I can't be president, because I could actually see my younger self doing something like that just to screw with people.
Okay, but now coming back to the word origin.
Yeah, spoiler.
Spoiler alert. Right. Spoiler alert.
He's coming back.
Has been, and everybody knows a spoiler alert because, you're going to give away the answer to, whatever movie you're watching. The Butler did it or whatever. And Alfred Hitchcock had a great line in Psycho about Psycho. Please don't give away the ending. It's the only one we have. Mm-hmm. But 1982, Wrath of Khan is where, spoiler alert, really took hold, apparently.
Oh, when they had the fake body on Montalban?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, that wasn't really his body.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
When he took his shirt off, we're like, come on, that's not even real.
Yeah.
He was like an 80-year-old man already at that time.
Yeah, but he was made out of fine Corinthian leather.
Yeah.
So,
in the video he was, yeah.
So that's spoiler and spoiler alerts.
All right, a movie, spoiler alert. I'm a terrible person to watch a movie with because I try and figure out the movie before the movie even gets started.
Julie gets pissed at me if I say it out loud. If I say, "Oh yeah, that's what's going to happen," that. Yeah, she don't like that.
2 movies that I ruined for people watching it. I ruined them. I didn't intentionally ruin them for them. I ruined The Sixth Sense.
Okay.
All right. I was like, wearing the same outfit, he's dead. And I ruined Fight Club.
Yeah.
So did you figure out either one of those? And I can tell you exactly when I figured out both of them.
Sixth Sense, I did not, and I've yet to see Fight Club.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. I ruined 7 too.
Yeah, 7 I saw.
7.
So I'll go back. I'll go back and watch Fight Club.
I knew what was in the box.
Yeah. So I want to go. I want to watch Fight Club because
Fight Club's actually
apparently you can't talk about it.
It's a very good movie.
Yeah.
But number one rule is
right.
Can't talk about it.
Right. So
I'm
looking forward to doing that one of these days.
I won't ruin it for you.
Thank you.
But I want you to watch it. And
I've heard every quote from the movie.
I'll tell you the exact scene where I figured it out.
Okay.
And I know the exact scene of when I figured out
Sixth Sense. Yeah, I enjoyed the Sixth Sense. Yeah.
And in 7, I knew what was in the box.
All right.
So,
well,
I mean, it's the deadly sense. So.
Yeah.
All right. It's time to get into it.
More deeply.
All right. We're talking third parties.
Yeah.
So I went all the way back to 1856.
I knew you would.
You didn't start till 1912.
And much more recent after that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we will move forward for that. In 1856, I'm sorry, I said 1856, Republican Party had just started to become its own.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And James Buchanan was the Republican that they put into place. He was in place, and he had been a politician, our only president who was never married.
Right.
And the Democratic candidate was Fremont, and the party that was called the Know Nothings.
Right.
The Know Nothings actually had a candidate that was a previous president because the Democrats didn't want him.
Right.
All right? And that was Millard Fillmore. All right? So we had Buchanan, Fremont, and Fillmore. All right? So Fillmore, basically he was a Whig candidate. Mm-hmm. So which that was starting to die. The Republicans had sprung off from the Whigs because they didn't want slavery.
Right, and they had their own hair.
And yeah. Well, it's spelled with an H. But even though Buchanan did nothing for slavery.
Right.
So Buchanan wins the Republican. Fillmore still stays with the Whig, and Fremont with the Democrats. So this is really the start of where it became Republicans and Democrats, because after that, we basically have only had those two parties.
Yes.
Yeah, to truly compete against.
Right.
Only one other time from that point forward has another party finished second.
1912, baby.
1912. So Fillmore actually ended up with, as a know-nothing party, or the Whig Party, with 8 electoral votes. Buchanan wins, only a one-term president, very weak president, possibly could go down as one of the worst presidents of all time.
Yeah.
Fremont.
Well, you have Andrew Johnson after him, so.
Andrew Johnson's pretty. Yeah. Yeah,
He ain't ranked all that high
that
either.
was not one of Lincoln's best choices.
Right.
But he was a guy from the South that Lincoln brought with him to try and win favor during the election, to win the election.
Right. That's what you needed to do.
Then he basically didn't want to do anything about rebuilding the country.
Right.
And he was the worst probably president to rebuild the country. So, but the very first third-party person that I found that was in any significance, unless you go back to the very first popular vote, and a lot of people, and I know our audience understands this, but until the election of our 6th president, which ended up ultimately being John Quincy Adams.
Mm-hmm.
So John Quincy Adams, there was a four-man race. There was not enough people to get the electoral majority.
Right.
All right, so it went to the House. Andrew Jackson had the most electoral votes. I think it was like at 98, and John Quincy Adams was like at 84.
But John Quincy Adams had been in the House of Representatives.
All right. The person who finished third also went to the House, but he died in this process. He died in this process. Person who finished fourth was no longer available to be in the process of the voting, and that was Clay. So Clay and John Quincy Adams both served in the House together.
Mm-hmm.
John Quincy Adams wins basically on the first go-round in the House when it goes to the House on the first vote. Clay becomes John Quincy Adams' Secretary of State.
Oh, home cooking.
So Andrew Jackson immediately went into a rage about this. And people are talking about how nasty politics are right now. You should go back and check out how nasty Andrew Jackson was. And Andrew Jackson claimed to be a Jeffersonian. He was but Thomas Jefferson announced him as the most dangerous man in politics. And then the last of the Jacksonians basically was Millard Fillmore. So, but I mean, so the controversy of that third party. So John Quincy Adams basically was handed the presidency, and he's one of the few presidents that did better after his presidency.
Yeah.
I mean, I put
went back into the House.
I put Jimmy Carter in that category, and I put William Taft in that category. Yep. So, all right, are we talking to Taft? There's our segue.
Yeah.
So,
well, 1912.
1912.
He came in third.
He did.
He got 8 electoral votes.
As a Republican, but today he would probably be more of a Democrat.
Well, but Taft got Vermont and Utah. He got 8 electoral votes in that election. Teddy got, where was it? Teddy got a bunch. He got 88 electoral votes.
I was going to say it was.
He got 88.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Woodrow Wilson got 435, so it really wasn't close. Wilson got 42% of the popular vote. Teddy got 27% of the popular vote, and Taft got squat and 2 states.
Yeah, but if the two of them, if there wasn't a third party, spoiler,
right?
Teddy Roosevelt spoiled that election for Taft.
Oh yeah. No doubt, because if you look at the states that Roosevelt won, California, Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, and believe it or not, Washington State. So, it's mirroring today with, California, which was in play then. It's, California is presumptively blue. You got Michigan and Minnesota, which are,
Wait. Presumptively?
It's a weird world out there, man.
Presumptively?
It's a weird world. Hey, apparently Florida's back in play. What can I tell you? I ain't believing any of this until I see those totals. I know that, and you know that, but they want the Democrats to spend money here.
Saying New York's in play.
Well, look, hey, look, we vote for
California's
we
in
vote
play.
we vote for a senator who wants to do away with Medicare and Medicaid after he bilked Medicaid and Medicare to make his money.
He didn't build it.
Bilked it. Bilk, B-I-L-K-E did.
I thought you said built it.
No, bilked it.
Okay. Is that bilk the same as milked?
No,
That might
bilk is like,
I might need that as a word origin.
Rob it.
Bilked?
Bilk, B-I-L-K-E-D.
Okay.
When you bilk something, I'm
going to Google.
Go, please.
I'm going to Google it.
Yeah. So, I think, my conjecture, and it's just, it's all alleged. We'll leave it at alleged because I don't want, Voldemort to come sue me because he's got better things to do with his Navy hat on his bald head. That, didn't this guy make his billions abusing the Medicare and Medicaid system?
Well, and if you go back, and I can tell you this. If you look at him, you don't meet him live. You look at him, he looks like the most distant, and he looks like Baltimore. He looks like a villain.
Yeah.
All right? When I met him in person, one of the nicest guys I've ever you meet somebody and you go, okay, now I see how the people follow you. And,
Right.
and that works for both sides, Democrat or Republican.
Oh, absolutely. There's charisma. Or as the kids say, Riz.
Riz.
That's for you, Davey.
All right, here we go. Bilk. Obtain or withhold money from someone by deceit or without justification, cheat or defraud. All right.
Allegedly.
Accused of.
Got to cover my ass.
Yeah, because we are in this state. And I did vote for him. Because I felt like he was a good guy.
Right.
But I can tell you this. You go back and you watch the hearings of that. You know what his favorite term was?
No comment. I plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth.
You plead the fifth and you're still voting for him for senator?
Yeah.
Come on. Seriously, have some balls, Florida. Seriously.
Are you kidding me? You're voting for someone from California that played with the entire system on the legal side and flirted with it and pulled it to her favor. And that's who you're voting for. So
Possibly.
No judgment.
Possibly.
No judgment on who I vote for, sir. So just so we're clear, all politicians
Oh.
walk that line.
Speaking from personal experience, oh yeah.
Walk that line.
Oh yeah.
You
tiptoe right over that razor's edge, baby.
You defend that line as it works in your favor.
Well, but the question
And
is
that's the
the question is
painful part of
criminality. The question is criminality.
Yeah.
Seriously. Integrity and criminality. That's what you need to be concerned with.
Yeah. Yeah, and both of those, I think every politician that we have to choose from, including the third party guy, all have questionable integrity and possibly legal issues.
It's that's the place where situational ethics come into play more. Well, I guess it's situational politics. It's not situational ethics. It's because you swing this way. You speak this way to this audience. You swing that way to that audience. You have to know who you're addressing. Just stay true to your. This is my platform. This is what I'm saying. You don't like it. You don't like it. But I'm not going to change it for my audience.
Yeah.
But they have to.
Well, I can tell you this. I believe Teddy Roosevelt's one of our better presidents.
Sure.
I'll put him in my top 5 as far as presidents go. The thing he made a mistake on is when he went in after McKinley was killed, he made a statement, I'll only serve these 2 terms.
Yep.
And I think he believed that to be true. He felt that Taft was the right guy. When Taft got in there, and Taft, another brilliant man, I think Taft was an honest guy. Not a guy you want to, represent the U.S. in the decathlon.
No.
Okay.
No. But a donut eating contest, I'm putting him right up there.
Yeah, he's right up there. I mean, he's the first president to throw out the first pitch.
Yep.
Lefty, by the way.
Gotta like a baseball fan.
He was
Gotta like a baseball fan.
He was a lefty, by the way. But when Taft didn't do exactly what Teddy, and this is what happens with people of influence and power, and people have to be cautious when you're overly confident. I'm an overly confident guy, and sometimes I have to look at other people's ideas and go, okay, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a struggle for guys whose egos are very big and who think they're smarter than what they are, which is me. I think I'm smarter than what I actually am. And I think Teddy Roosevelt is that type of politician. Like I think he did some great things, and I think everything he did, he tried to do for the good of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have stayed and said, you know what? I know I said this, but I still have more to do.
Right.
And I think his itch for power in those 4 years created what happened in 1912. And I don't think Woodrow Wilson did a terrible job.
He was fine.
I don't think
until he stroked out.
Yeah, I mean,
and even then, Edith was great.
Edith
was great.
Edith might have did a better job than him.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I really believe, and Woodrow Wilson, the brilliance of Woodrow Wilson, and he couldn't get support from Congress. I'm wondering if he could have gotten support of the League of Nations from Congress.
Yeah.
Would World War II have happened at all? The Treaty of Versailles was awful. It was awful. It almost forced Germany, and we left Japan out of the treaty pretty much altogether. We basically said, "Screw you, you're insignificant." Even though, and I don't think people.
Well, in World War I, Asia was not a major player.
Well, and Japan was.
I mean, that was intramural. That was China and Japan, and they were fighting against each other for property.
Japan was on the right side in World War I. And because they were so left out of, they were pretty much a non-voter in the Treaty of Versailles. And it almost forced Japan and Germany to go, hey, all these guys screwed us team up.
Right.
And the devious mind of Hitler put that together. So, I mean, but the League of Nations, if people were communicating like Woodrow Wilson wanted to do, I mean, which became the UN.
Right. Eventually, yeah.
He won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
For it, and his own Congress wouldn't vote for it. The rest of the world said this is a good idea, but his own Congress wouldn't vote for it because it was politics.
And Congress is politically dysfunctional. They can't pass anything. They and again, I made a comment earlier on Mike's show that, there's a local congressman who is, saying, look what we've done for the environment here. And he votes against every environmental bill. Yet it's like all the congressmen who said, oh, look at the infrastructure money we're bringing into our communities. Look at how we're rebuilding these bridges, these roads, everything's going on here. And not one of those suckers voted for it, but they're taking credit for it. You know what? And that needs to be brought out. Dude, vote for something, stand up for something, support your constituency. Don't support your political party, support your constituency. Well, get your head out of your ass and have some local integrity, please.
Well, and Blake and I were talking on the right end, and I want your thoughts on this. I hate political parties. And people get upset. I mean, I'm a registered Republican because that's what I have to be to have a voice in a lot of ways. You and Blake are registered Democrats. I hope you're okay with me telling people
that's fine. It's not a surprise to anybody who knows me or listens.
That's all right.
I don't think either one of you are people are going to be shocked that either one of you are that. I was formerly a Democrat. I was in a position where local politics meant a lot to my position. And to have a voice, I had to become a Republican. I would probably prefer to be an independent, but as an independent, I get left out of both.
Right.
And as a Democrat, how many items did you get to vote for?
on this in
On
the
the primary.
3, and one of them was for a choice of 2 Republicans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
School board,
and you're 3 also?
yeah.
Senate,
So
and the county clerk.
Yep, Senate, school board seat, then county clerk of the courts.
And I think I had 12 on mine.
Right.
So
Which
I
is,
feel
you know,
I feel
yeah.
like my vote. You put your two together.
Right.
I feel like my vote has more say in what's happening in our
Locally, for
community.
sure.
Absolutely.
Than what you guys are. So I felt like I was forced to pick. I
So-
felt like I was forced to pick a party. So I really dislike.
So when you registered Republican, was that to get a job in the county?
no.
Okay, because where I come from, in the city I grew up in, Long Beach, on Long Island, there are 2 cities, Glen Cove and Long Beach in Nassau County, and then the town of Hempstead, which is the largest, I believe, the largest township in the country. Long Beach was Democratic, Glen Cove was Democratic, the 2 cities were Democratic. If you want to do anything in Long Beach, as
They
far
were
as the city...
Democrats. Hopefully they were all Democratic.
Okay. We'll come back. We'll come back to that later.
Okay. All right.
But if you wanted a job, if you wanted to be a lifeguard, if you wanted a job working for the city, it helped you if you were a registered Democrat.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, if you wanted anything in the largest township in the country, maybe it still is, maybe it still isn't, the town of Hempstead, if you weren't a Republican, you weren't even bothering wasting your time to put your resume in because it was never going to get looked at, let alone the fact that the Republican Party in the town of Hempstead expected employees in that township to contribute 1% of their salary to the Republican Party.
So it's like its own church.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
which
that's
came back,
ridiculous.
which came back to hurt D'Amato, Senator D'Amato, who, by the way, one of the greatest local politicians there was, called him Senator Pothole. You had a pothole, you called Al, it got fixed,
Yeah.
which is what you need
That's
from
what you
your
want.
absolutely. But when I was elected, as a Democrat. And I said Long Beach, 36,000 people, give or take.
That's a big city. I mean, city of St. Augustine's about
16,
15,000.
And I think that number is dramatically undercounted because of the illegal apartments and things of that nature in Long Beach. But we'll call it 36,000 people. And how it's been 36,000 people since the census is when I was a kid to nowadays, and the number hasn't changed? Yeah, not so much. But
we have that in common, right?
yeah,
You and I both were mayors.
yeah.
I was mayor of DeLand when I was 12 years old. I'm still the youngest mayor ever
Nice.
in the city of DeLand.
Well, I was city council president because
I
we
got
actually
to run one meeting
nice.
Yeah.
There you go. You got pictures.
for my student council.
All right.
I don't know if we have.
You know,
photographers at that time.
Long Beach is city manager council form of government, and there was we used to have a mayor who got assassinated.
What?
Yep, Mayor.
Wait. That's a different story.
Mayor
altogether.
Mayor
I don't know
Edwards
if I
got
can
shot
let
by a
this
guy
in.
by the name of Dooley, who was a cop who lost a PBA election. The mayor
He got assassinated over politics
by a cop.
by a cop.
Right. Yeah, which changed.
a Dateline
which,
episode.
You're gonna love this. Which changed the name of Jackson Boulevard, as in Andrew, to Edwards Boulevard for dead Mayor Edwards. Yeah.
By the way, you talk about have you watched the? I think it's on Netflix. No, it's on Amazon. The President series.
I don't think so.
You need to watch it, man. Andrew, whew,
Oh yeah, he was a hoot and hollering
Woo.
guy. Yeah.
whew, not nice.
Oh no.
Not a guy that you know.
But he put a big block of cheese in the White House.
Yeah, goodness
So.
gracious. No, he did a lot of things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you're a Native American,
But
you're
you
not a
had-
fan of him.
You had, was it a mayor?
Mayor Edwards was assassinated
Mayor Edwards got assassinated
Yeah.
in Long Beach.
in the 30s. I want to say. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
in the 30s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. It could happen.
Yeah. Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Did.
It-
Yeah, the guy walked out of his patrol box that he was, there was a police box outside of the mayor's house. And the guy said, shot him. And by the way, then walked to the precinct, turned himself in. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's what you do.
So,
When you shoot a mayor.
well, they went away from the mayor form of government for years, and it was a city council, city manager form of government.
Okay.
So I was actually the president of the city council because we didn't have a mayor at the time, and my political rival, a very handsome man by the name of Jim Hennessy,
Well, Hennessy,
Yeah, yeah.
tough
He was
name to compete against.
well, you know, and he was actually on the cover of the Just for Men box.
Oh,
Yeah, he was a good-looking boy.
he had that salt and pepper.
Not anymore. Not when he used it. Not when he used the Just for Men. He was just all the pepper.
You know how much stuff's in there? I mean, there's
I'm-
17 steps of that shit.
Honey, you think I care about my my hairline? Come on, I'm with you.
I'll be the beautiful silver fox today.
Thank you very much. Right here, exactly. But there was a hue and cry for a referendum to go back to being a mayor, and I am absolutely sure I would have won that election. And it would have been me against Jimmy. And sorry, Jimmy, but I would have kicked your ass. And
You're way more charming. I don't know Jimmy, but you're way more charming.
well, he's. I'll leave it at this.
Okay.
I would have beat him, but he and I actually worked together to work against the referendum, and we defeated the referendum to return it to a mayor council form of government.
Gotcha.
Would have added another layer of government, would have added greater expense to the city. You still would have needed a city manager to run the city.
Yeah.
So there was no real upside to it from the way the city was working as
It
the
would have been
time.
just an additional cost.
Correct. Correct.
And a layer of
Right.
bureaucracy.
But I got elected, you
that
know.
doesn't sound like a Democrat. Usually Democrats like the bureaucracy added
You know
to
what?
it.
I got elected, you know, when I ran, let's say I got elected by 6,000 people. I said I got elected by 6,000 people to represent 36,000 people. I didn't get elected to represent the Democrats that voted for me. And in all candor, I lost one of my best friends over politics because I worked for the best interest of the city of Long Beach, not the best interest of the Democratic Party of Long Beach.
Yeah.
And you know
That's
what?
the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. And I have no problem with that. You know, I don't question my integrity in that instance at all. I think it was the object was to work for the betterment of the city. Took me 8 years. I get elected my first term, and, you know, my inaugural speech is, all right, well, there's going to be dust in the street. We've got a lot of infrastructure work to do. We have to do this. We have to do that. 8 years later, as I finished my second 4-year term, I got pretty much everything on that list checked off.
Okay, and then you didn't run again, or you
Well, I was gonna run again, but the Democratic Party thought I was too close to the Republicans in office because I worked with them to move the city forward and move the city agenda forward.
Yeah, was it for the good of the city?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there were two hardcore Republicans that wanted nothing to do with it. I sat next to a guy for years, bright young man, bright lawyer, born and raised in Long Beach. I would talk to him. I would lobby him. I would say, you know, this is good. Look at this. You have a problem with this?
Did you
No.
have the sunshine law up there?
Yes.
You
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
Okay, you had a form of it.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, absolutely.
You couldn't really talk until you got into the meetings.
Correct.
Okay.
Or you couldn't. Three members of the council could not be together discussing politics, discussing the city agenda.
But you could one-on-one?
Correct. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you can't do that here at all.
What?
You can't do one-on-one.
Really?
No, you can't. Like a county commissioner can't
That's
talk
just-
to another county commissioner.
That's just debilitating. You know, you're not going to get. You can't.
And it strangleholds
Yeah.
conversation. And even where I sit, like on the Tourist Development Council board,
Right.
and there's 8 other people on the board with me, I can't talk what we might vote on with them individually until we get into the meeting.
I would sit next to this gentleman who was the vice president of the city council at the time because they had the majority, and I'd say, you know, Tommy, look at this. This makes perfect sense. You know what? You're absolutely right. I'm voting against it. Why?
Still voting against it.
Right. You know, why? You know, it was counterintuitive. It didn't make any, it was pure base politics,
Right.
which is debilitating.
All right, We're gonna
Sponsors.
talk sponsors. We're going to pay some bills. Cheshire Custom and Collisions, they are the best in town. You got a little ding or something like that, give them a call. Cheshire's Custom and Collisions. Coquina Coast Realty, my number is 904-669-7901. Kaiser's Deli and Market. I can tell you right now, the Bollox, half turkey, half
The
pastrami.
pastrami's the key.
And
Yeah.
pressed. Oh, it's the best sandwich in town to me. All right, best museum in town. I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, it's definitely like no. Go to the St. Augustine Pirate Museum. These guys know what they're doing. They're professionals, and you're going to be amazed that it's in our beautiful city. You know, I'm just saying best and best, and that's what it is, and that's what we have as our sponsors. Aber Kresge and Associates. These are CPAs that care about you. locally raised here. And let me tell you right now, I don't trust my money with just anyone. I do with Abear Kresge and Associates. Mehans, we're talking about
Just good.
We're talking about a good guy, and everybody who's around him. And when I say
Reggie, oh man,
what I can tell you right now, Reggie, when I say good guy, and you guys don't understand what a good guy is, here's a good guy. Reggie's the type of guy who gets out of the shower to pee. That's a good guy.
Yep.
And Reggie's that type of guy. He'll give you the shirt off his back, and he does everything for a community. He works hard for the image of his restaurant.
Yep.
He makes sure you get the best product when you walk in the door from Mehans. You know, I can't say enough about them.
And we haven't said this in weeks. Try the Irish cream. They make it fresh every day.
Yeah.
It is delicious.
All right. Also delicious. St. Augustine Distillery and City Gate Spirits. These
very
guys
true.
know how to do it right. They've won many, many awards. They have a new rum coming out, and next month I'm hoping to release the rum, and you get
Nice.
to try it with us.
Good.
But City Gate Spirits, if you haven't been there, do their tasting tour. You're going to run into a flavor where you go, wow.
Yeah,
That is
we're,
really
we're
good.
getting to where I can start to trust peaches for peach season now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've been not so great yet. So I'm getting closer to making a peach pie, and I'm going to kick it up with a little bit of the peach, little peach brandy,
Peach brandy.
the peach whiskey,
from the
yep.
I can tell you right now, they have flavors you've never experienced before, and when you go in there, you're going to be like,
And the flavors are true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, you know, a lot of things will taste artificial or chemical. The peach whiskey and the peach flavors that City Gate Spirits uses, they're just spot on. They're delicious. I mean, that peach is just fragrant
yep.
and real.
Without a doubt. And St. Augustine Distillery, they won best touring facility for a distillery in the United States. Go give them a try. They're on Riberia there. All right. We talked about the election of 1912.
No shit. Yeah.
What happened?
Apparently, Reggie is in one of Davy's spin classes.
Oh,
The man's an Energizer buddy.
he is. He really,
Holy cow.
really, really is. And just a wonderful human being. Good people. Good people is what we say in Florida.
Hey, we've got Kaiser. We've got Bobby going to Kaiser's, which is too good as well.
Oh.
And Kathy, you're absolutely right. And that wasn't out on me.
What was that?
Saying you should never lose a friend over politics.
Yeah, well, and unfortunately that happens.
I know.
And it happens on Facebook, and people
Right.
all have. Mike and I are always been completely opposite on a lot of our views. He's a faith-based decision maker, and I am not. And we've had some really, really heated discussions, and we've had them on air, and we've had them live in front of people, and that's how our relationships worked over many, many years, especially over the last 10 years. Used to be just at lunch, but
Right.
we're like, wow, this would be a good show, and it turned out being a really good show. But
Like the God Squad.
as soon as we ended the show or whatever we were doing, we're good.
Yeah.
And we said it. We respect each other, and we respected each other's
Well, that's
opinions.
it. You have to respect people and their opinions. And trust me, I am still a work in progress. I am getting better. Honey, I really am. I'm trying. And you know, I need to take a deep breath and realize that from time to time. But, you know, it's just, you got to let it go sometimes. Because at the end of the day, you know, my vote, your vote, we ain't changing nothing.
Well, and that's the thing, and be happy. I can tell you this: I watched, and Rebecca, I'm giving you kudos for this because she picked it out. A documentary, and I believe it was on Netflix. Have you watched Navalny yet?
No. Oh man,
Watch
what a
Watch it. I'm telling you right now, you will walk away from that documentary and going, I'm glad I live in the U.S.
Oh, I just read an article today. I don't know if the woman has dual citizenship, American and Russian, and I don't know if that's even a possibility. But a woman in Russia made a $50 contribution to a charitable organization. $50 contribution to a charitable organization that was supporting something in Ukraine. 12 years in jail in Russia.
Wow.
That's chilling.
Yeah.
Absolutely chilling.
So, and when people say, "Oh, this is the worst," you know what? I don't care if you stay or not. If you make statements like that, feel free.
Yeah.
Feel free. The beauty of our country is you can go wherever
Right.
you want.
Right. As you
You
said,
don't have that in every other country.
as you said, nobody moved to Canada.
No.
Or not,
every-
or nobody that I know
everybody-
moved to Canada.
Everybody
Right.
talked about it, Rosie. Everybody talked about it, and no one moved.
Right.
They're still here bitching the same story.
Yeah.
You know what? So, should be American first, and then whatever your party is, if that's where you want to be. But I can tell you, I'm going to be a dad first, then an American,
Right.
and then go from there.
Right. And again, and look, I have so much respect for you for everything that you do outside of your business, between the veterans, between the homeless, all that stuff. That's the more important work than the political work. You've got macro and micro, and the broad scale stuff, fine. You can shave here, you can shave there, but when it comes down to the fact that you can actually effectuate somebody's life, and that's why I did it. I had no aspiration for higher office.
Yeah.
I was in a position that for 8 years and for another 6 years before that, between an architectural review board and a zoning board, I could effectuate the quality of life for the people in my community, and that was my objective and my goal. So for about 16 years in government or political office, I could do what I thought was in the best interest of the community, and did that. And I think that's as important, and as it's sort of direct to disc. You're getting to people where they live, literally where they live.
No, 100%, 100%.
So, and for you, I have just the utmost respect.
People, I mean, and I joke about this all the time. I'm not electable because I have too many enemies. But I can tell you right now, my enemies will never say, "Oh, he did that for himself."
Right.
Yeah, and if they do, they truly don't know who I am. And on my tombstone, all it have to say is he was a good dad. My life success at that point. Everything else that falls into place. I've been very fortunate. I was in a position where I could make a huge difference in a lot of human beings' lives, which was what I wanted to do. And I was, I use the term blessed. But
why?
I was able to create. I feel like I left St. Augustine better than when I got here, or because I got here in '87,
Right.
And I feel like I've done that in a lot of ways, and I still think we can do better.
Sure.
And I think a lot of our politicians have to have that mindset of truly not how I help myself,
Right.
but how do I help the
My
person
constituency.
beside me.
Yeah.
And it has, I
It's
don't.
more difficult
and,
now.
And you probably know who made this quote. It has less to do than what you said, than how you made someone feel. People don't remember what you say,
Right.
but they do remember how you made them feel.
Right.
It's very easy for people to criticize your actions. Like people, I've done it. I've been called a racist. I've been called
Really?
so many different things in my career. I've been called, a builder of society, a builder of an empire, for my own gratification. But none of that matters. None of it matters. And the problem, and this is why I can never be a good politician, is because I don't care if it's right, yes. If it's wrong, no.
Right.
And the politicians today are making a decision. What do the polls say?
Well,
What is the public opinion?
Right.
Instead of right and wrong. And sometimes I hate public opinion is wrong. And sometimes it takes time for them to realize they're wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll give you an example of something that's happening recently, and I think it's poor politics on the Kamala Harris's part. All of a sudden she's on board with, not taxing tips on employees. She did it in Nevada. Fine. But you know what? You know what you do? You say, look, I do not agree with a tremendous amount of things about Donald Trump. I think he's going to be bad for the country as president. But what I will tell you is, you know what? He's on to something here. And I agree that taxing tips is not a good thing for the people that are hardworking, that are underpaid. Because, by the way, minimum wage doesn't count. You have a lower tip. You have a lower hourly wage if you work for tips than minimum wage. So it's skewed there. So what would it cost her to come out and say, you know what? He's right on this. I agree with it. And if you vote for me, I'm going to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's not a bad idea.
Give credit where credit right. Give credit where credit is due.
Not a bad idea.
It's not hard to do.
And
shows you have integrity.
The other thing is, and this is, it's easy to come up with a good idea. The implementation
Well, that's it.
of that good idea is in the details.
Right.
It's easy for me to say, let's let everyone, get by with not paying back their student loans. What? Blake, how many student loans do you have?
0.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dad.
Do I mean?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, we planned for that. It wasn't like.
No, nor I. My parents paid for my education.
It wasn't
Granted,
like,
it was inexpensive
it wasn't-
comparatively speaking.
It wasn't like I miraculously came up with all that money. We planned for that. All right.
Well,
And now we have a 4-year-old in our house. That process has already started.
right.
It's not that hard, a little bit at a time, but people
Well, if you
don't
plan for it.
Yeah, if you plan for it.
Well-
and we're a smart society. I'm not a smart guy. I'm an average guy, but I can tell you, it's not that hard. If you go, I know I want to be here. How do I get there?
Well, the problem is the cost of education and higher education today is egregiously out of whack with reality.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. I mean, why should a year in college that you're going to do for 4 years cost $60,000?
Mm-hmm.
You know, half of the chairs for professors are endowed by somebody outside of the university. You know, there's a philanthropy or there's a donation or something that's given that. You know, the buildings are being paid for by donors who want their kid to get to school without having to lie about whether or not she was on a freaking crew team. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I don't quite understand. And look, costs are there, you know. So charging for room, charging for board, but the educational component of this, you know, I think anybody who is now saying that community college or junior college education should be paid for is right. Now, where's that money going to come from? That's another question, because the states can't necessarily afford it. The federal government can't afford it.
And I want to clear someone up in this conversation. I can tell you right now, Blake was such a great advocate for himself as a college student. Mm-hmm. He created more money.
Getting scholarships and grants.
And turning over every rock.
Sure.
And they're there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
there's tons of money out there.
We gave him that nudge, and he found those things.
Yeah.
He created more money than myself and his mom had in athletic scholarships combined. So the money is there if you choose to go after it.
And you know what? And Blake, you know, if you want to get out of this producing business, there is a huge business in being an advocate for students and being somebody who finds grants and scholarships for children going to college. It is a great business.
No, he was the best advocate for himself.
Right, but he can advocate for other children.
But we also, I mean,
for 10%, you're getting rich.
And Blake, probably, I don't know, how old were you when I instituted the parent tax?
I believe I was like 14.
You
13,
charged
14.
the kid for his college education?
I charged him for anything that he made money on.
Okay.
He had to put 30% into his own account.
Good. Well, it also teaches him savings and financial responsibility.
But that's the way that's the way life is. I mean, my parent tax understands it, and I can tell you, knowing your numbers is super important.
Great. Two dyslexic men who just expose them.
Blake, because you're Asperger's, I know you know your numbers off the top of your head. But one of the things I always preach was know your numbers, know where you're at. Blake can probably get within $10 of his savings account and his checking account. Can you right now, Blake?
Do you want me to publicly reveal right
No,
now?
you-
No, that's not
But just a yes
necessary.
or no. Just a yes,
Yes.
or no. Yes or no. And that is one of the things of being successful in life is knowing your numbers of where you need to be.
And what
then being
and what your
responsible.
disposable income is and what you can spend and what you shouldn't spend.
And being responsible for those numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm a spender. I'm a spender. I like to spend money, but I also like if we want to go to New York, if we want to go to Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
we can do that because I know my numbers
Right.
of where I'm at.
Right.
I try and get the best possible deal. I mean, I stayed.
Oh, yeah.
I stayed in Central Park for 2 nights for $114.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, people are like, "Oh, you're going all these places." Yeah, but you know what? I do it smartly. I travel
Right.
on the discount.
Right.
You won't see me in first class.
I did ask for my upgrade on my flight tomorrow.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
I don't know. They'll let me know if I got a boarding pass with a different seat on it.
Yeah.
Of course, the last time we got upgraded, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I might have told you this story. The 65-year-old flight attendant, who was lovely, don't get me wrong, was goofy to begin with when she was telling us, all right, our flight to Dallas, we're going to Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. You know, our flight to Dallas is 2.5 hours. We're going to Jacksonville, ma'am. And we got upgraded to first class. And you know what that meant, by the way? I got my water in a glass. That was the extent.
That's the extent
a
of-
wider seat, and I got my water in a
the
glass.
seat's more comfortable.
But the woman was sneezing. She was wheezing. She kept going into the
Well,
bathroom.
it-
And then the next thing I know, she was bending over and breathing on me. And I came home 2 days later. I popped positive for COVID.
Yeah. Well, in next door, you were coughing all over me in Mike's show.
I know, but that was nothing. That was
I
just,
saw you throwing the lozenge down.
well, that was just so I stopped coughing. Exactly. I needed to do it early, so I didn't.
We're out of time.
Again,
We're out of time.
Again?
And you know what we didn't talk about? Third-party precedents.
man, I had all sorts of stuff on Eugene V. Debs. Man,
Blake, you didn't try and stop us this time.
No, because we're supposed to go off on tangents. It's literally in the name of the show. Look behind you. It's
Yeah.
it's on the name of the show.
Yeah, talks and tangents. We're
I had also,
completely on a
can,
tangent.
can we leave this until next week? I got all sorts
Yeah.
of good stuff.
We're gonna switch it up because next week's gonna be a completely different world.
Oh, okay. Well,
Locally.
yeah, exactly.
No, I
Locally.
Exactly.
Locally.
But I do have a suggestion for a topic though. Potato. How do you spell it?
Oh,
Easy, Dan Quayle.
Yeah,
Easy. Stop picking on the Dan Quayle man.
Yeah.
Or me, who can't spell for shit.
It's an easy target.
That's FERSHIT for
But,
shit.
By the way, as a dyslexic guy, I'm a pretty good speller. My dyslexia comes in and I leave words out.
Okay.
So if I ever text anything and the word I leave out the most is not. All right?
That'll get you in trouble.
Hey, we are coming to the party. We are not coming to the party. Completely different. And that's the word I leave out the most.
And that was funny because there was somebody put a comment on the morning show on Tuesday about somebody who's an administrator in St. Johns County, and it came out as supportive, and I said, "Oh yeah, I agree with that. I think she's fabulous." And then he said, "Oh wait a second, I mistyped," and he wasn't in favor of her.
Yeah.
Well, I still am. So
I'm
she
still-
impressed me.
I'm still there.
She impressed me.
All right. So before the next show, it is time. Get out and vote.
Please, I did. Wife did.
Your local elections are super important. They're more important than your national elections because these are the people
It affects your
that
life directly.
make the decisions for you in everyday life. So we're doing. Mike and I are doing a show Monday, and then we're doing a live show, a reveal of the polls, not the polls,
The results.
the actual results
Right.
of the local elections on Tuesday night.
Yep.
So thank you guys. Make sure you hit that share button. Support our sponsors. Lenny, great conversation.
Always
I
a
don't know if we
pleasure.
stuck to any type of topic whatsoever.
I had all sorts of stuff about Eugene V. Debs, man. Socialist for president.
Blake, appreciate you. You're still not getting a raise,
Love you, Dad.
but I still love you. And this is Bollox Talks and Tangents. We'll see you next week.